The massive Krellan Imperial fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of human territory, their ships gleaming with polished metal that reflected distant starlight. The flagship Eternal Supremacy led the formation, its size dwarfing even the largest human vessels visible on their scanners. Admiral Vortak stood on the command bridge, his forearms folded across his armored chest. His scaled skin shimmered with ceremonial oils applied for this historic occasion. The bridge crew maintained perfect silence, each member focused on their station with military precision. "Begin the standard conquest protocol," Vortak ordered, his voice steady. "Transmit the Imperial demand of submission to their leadership." The communications officer bowed deeply. "As you command, Admiral." The message went out across all frequencies, a formal declaration of the Krellan Empire's dominion over 12,000 star systems, their undefeated military record, and the specific terms of human surrender. The transmission included detailed instructions for the proper ceremonial reception of Imperial representatives and the immediate cessation of all independent human governance. Vortak allowed himself a small smile. This was his 7th First Contact conquest mission. He had the procedure perfected to an art form. The humans would respond with fear or defiance, then acceptance. They always did. The main viewscreen flickered to life. A human appeared, sitting in what appeared to be a command chair. Unlike Krellan officers, who wore ceremonial armor even during routine duties, this human wore a simple uniform with minimal adornment. Most shocking was the relaxed posture. The human was leaning back, holding some kind of container. "This is Captain Kim of the UES Bold Venture," the human said with a casual nod. "Nice ships you've got there. Very shiny. We were just about to have lunch. Have you folks traveled far?" The bridge fell silent. Vortak's secondary heart skipped a beat. "There must be a translation error," he said to his cultural advisor. "Check the systems." The advisor worked frantically at his console. "No error detected, Admiral." "This is their response." Vortak cleared his throat and stepped forward. "Perhaps we were unclear. We are the Krellan Empire, masters of the Galactic Quadrant. Your species will submit to our authority immediately or face extinction." Captain Kim took a sip from her container. "Yeah, we got that part. Thing is, we're kind of in the middle of our annual Spacefleet karaoke competition. Tell you what, why don't you park those impressive ships somewhere comfortable and we can chat after the finals? My communications officer has a killer rendition of Total Eclipse of the Heart that's favored to win." Murmurs of confusion spread through the Imperial bridge. Vortak's facial scales flushed purple with anger. "This is not a negotiation. You will." "Oh, hang on," Kim interrupted, turning to someone off-screen. "Is that the food delivery?" "Excellent, I'm starving." She looked back at the screen. "Sorry about that. Where were we?" "Right, the whole submit or die thing. Look, we've heard that speech about 20 times from different species. The Zorgens were particularly dramatic about it last year." Vortak's cultural advisor approached nervously. "Admiral, our records show no conquests in this sector." "Who are these Zorgens she speaks of?" On screen, Captain Kim was now eating something while maintaining eye contact. "Anyway, if you're serious about meeting, we'd be happy to welcome a delegation aboard. We could show you around, maybe grab some coffee. We've got these things called donuts that will blow your minds, assuming you have minds in those fancy helmets." The Imperial Protocol officer nearly fainted. No species had ever responded this way to the Conquest Protocol. The humans were not begging for mercy or preparing for honorable last stands. They were making jokes? Vortak slammed his fist down on the command console. "Enough. You will respect the Imperial." "Oh," Kim said suddenly, eyes widening with recognition. "You're doing the intimidation thing. I see it now. The big ships, the formal language. Very classic approach. Our historians will love this. It's like meeting living history." Another human appeared briefly on screen, whispering something to Captain Kim. "Really? That's their actual name?" Kim laughed. Eternal supremacy? That's adorable. Very retro. Vortak's rage reached its peak. Prepare weapons systems. We will teach these insolent. Admiral, his strategic advisor interrupted urgently. The human vessels are deploying something. Our sensors can't identify the technology. On the view screen, Captain Kim was still smiling. Before you do anything hasty, you might want to scan again. We've activated our defensive systems. Nothing harmful, just a little demonstration. Oh, and we're sending coordinates for a proper meeting place. Bring your diplomats and an appetite. Those donuts I mentioned? They're seriously good. The transmission ended. The Krellin bridge erupted in confused chatter. For the first time in his career, Admiral Vortak felt something unfamiliar, uncertainty. He looked at the strange readings from the human ships. Something told him this conquest would not go according to protocol. 2 days later, a small Krellin delegation approached the human vessel UES Mirth. The Imperial shuttle was polished to perfection, adorned with the ancestral markings of the Krellin Empire. Inside, senior diplomat Pak sat rigidly, reviewing the strict protocols for first contact scenarios. His assistants checked their ceremonial garments one final time. Remember, Pak instructed, show no emotion. The Empire has never failed to establish dominance in these meetings. The shuttle docked with a gentle thud. The Krellins stood in formation, prepared for the formal greeting ceremony that had preceded 12,000 years of successful conquests. The airlock hissed open. Instead of an honor guard, they found a small group of humans in varied uniforms. Some wore jackets open or sleeves rolled up. One was even drinking something from a container. Welcome aboard the Mirth, a human stepped forward, extending a hand. I'm Captain Bay. Sorry about the casual reception, we were testing some new engine modifications and most of the crew was still in the engine room. Pak stared at the outstretched hand, unsure of the proper response. A cultural advisor whispered, "It's a physical greeting custom, Excellency." With reluctance, Pak briefly touched the human's hand. We expected the appropriate ceremonial reception as outlined in our transmission. Captain Bay smiled. Oh, that massive document? To be honest, we skimmed it. Life's too short for 100-page protocols, don't you think? Come on, let's show you around. The Krellins followed in shocked silence. The human ship defied every principle of Imperial design. Corridors curved unnecessarily. Personal items decorated workstations. Crew members called out casual greetings without stopping their work. This is our recreation area, Captain Bay explained, showing them a large room where humans were engaged in various activities. Some were playing games, others reading, some even sleeping in odd fabric constructions hanging from the ceiling. During work hours? Pak couldn't contain his surprise. We work in shifts, Bay shrugged. And we found that scheduled relaxation actually improves efficiency. Want to try the hammocks? They're super comfortable. Before Pak could respond, an alarm sounded. The Krellins instinctively reached for their ceremonial weapons, but stopped when they noticed the humans weren't panicking. Oh, that's just the hydroponic alert, said Bay, completely unfazed. The strawberries need attention. A food emergency? Asked a confused Krellin advisor. More like an opportunity, Bay grinned. Fresh strawberries for dessert tonight. They continued to the command center, where the Krellins expected to find military discipline. Instead, crew members sat in various positions, some with feet propped on consoles. One was tossing a small object to another while monitoring space traffic. Here's where the magic happens, Captain Bay said proudly. Best crew in the fleet. A human approached with a tray. Anyone want coffee? Just made a fresh pot. Pak's cultural advisor whispered urgently, this must be a ceremonial beverage, Excellency. Refusing could be an insult. Reluctantly, Pak accepted the hot liquid. The bitter taste made his eyes widen. Too strong? Asked the human with the tray. I can add milk. How do you maintain discipline? Pak finally asked. Where is the order in your command structure? Captain Bay leaned against a console. We've found that humans work best when they're treated as individuals rather than interchangeable parts. Our ship has the highest efficiency rating in the fleet precisely because we don't force everyone into rigid structures. Suddenly, a minor power fluctuation caused lights to flicker. Rather than panic or formal emergency procedures, a human technician sighed dramatically. Not again. The coupling must be loose. Instead of consulting manuals or following protocols, the technician grabbed a tool, crawled under a console, and began making adjustments while humming a tune. Shouldn't you consult engineering specialists? Asked Pac, horrified at this breach of procedure. Han is the best at quick fixes, Bay explained. Everyone on this ship has multiple skills. We encourage learning beyond assigned roles. The light stabilized, and the technician emerged, face smudged with grease. Fixed it. Just needed the good old percussion method. He demonstrated by hitting the side of the panel with his tool. The Krellans exchanged glances of dismay. This defied everything they understood about military discipline and efficiency. Later, in the ship's dining area, the humans served food family style, with dishes passed around a large table where officers and crew sat together. Rank seemed to disappear as they shared stories and jokes. So, Captain Bay asked between bites, tell us about your empire. What do you do for fun? Pac blinked slowly. Fun is scheduled for the third day of each rest cycle, in accordance with Imperial health mandates. The table fell silent before erupting in laughter. Oh, you're serious, said Bay, smile fading. That sounds structured. As the meal continued, Pac observed the chaotic interactions with growing unease. These humans operated by principles completely foreign to Imperial understanding. Most disturbing was how effective they seemed to be despite, or perhaps because of, their lack of rigid order. When the delegation finally returned to their shuttle, Pac's hands trembled slightly as he composed his report. How could he explain to Admiral Vortak that the humans' greatest strength might be their apparent disorganization? Admiral Vortak paced the command deck of the Eternal Supremacy, his forearms clasped behind his back as he reviewed the delegation's report for the fifth time. The description of human behavior in ship operations defied all military logic. Their casual attitude toward Imperial protocol was not just disrespectful, it was incomprehensible. These humans do not understand the gravity of their situation, he announced to his officers. We will demonstrate our power in a way they cannot misinterpret. The communications officer bowed. Your orders, Admiral? Deploy the fleet into Sacred Crescent formation. It has broken the will of 1,000 civilizations. These humans will learn respect. Within hours, 200 Krellan warships moved into perfect position, creating a massive crescent shape that stretched across the void of space. Each ship maintained exactly the prescribed distance from its neighbors, their engines pulsing in perfect synchronization. The formation was designed to demonstrate both precision and overwhelming force. Admiral Vortak opened a channel to the human fleet. Behold the might of the Krellan Empire. This is but 1/10 of our total strength. You have witnessed our patience. Now witness our power. The response came almost immediately. On the view screen, Captain Bay appeared, looking oddly excited rather than intimidated. That's an impressive formation. Very symmetrical. Hold on, we've got something to show you too. Before Vortak could respond, the human ships began to move. At first, he thought they were retreating, but then he realized they were forming some kind of pattern. Unlike the rigid precision of the Krellan ships, the human vessels moved in fluid, almost playful ways. What are they doing? Vortak demanded. His tactical officer studied the readings. It appears to be a dance pattern, Admiral. They're broadcasting music on open channels to coordinate their movements. Indeed, the human ships were now moving in synchronized steps, shifting positions in time with rhythmic sounds coming through the ship's communication system. Some spun on their axes while others moved in patterns that resembled waves. This is how you respond to a show of Imperial might? Vortak's voice rose in anger. With dancing? We call this one the electric slide, Captain Bay responded cheerfully. An Earth classic. Your formation gave us the idea. Very inspiring. Vortax scales flushed purple with rage. Enough of this mockery. Tactical, fire warning shots. Target the empty space near their lead vessels. Green energy beams lanced out from several Krellin ships, precisely calculated to pass close to the human vessels without hitting them. It was a standard intimidation tactic that had caused many species to immediately surrender. But the humans didn't scatter or freeze. Instead, as the energy beams approached their ships, strange fields appeared around the human vessels. Rather than deflecting the beams, these fields seemed to absorb them completely. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the human ships began to glow with the captured energy. Slowly, this energy was released not as weapons, but as intricate patterns of light. Some resembled earth flowers, others geometric designs that pulsed and shifted in the void. The Krellin bridge crew watched in stunned silence. A transmission came from the human flagship. "Cool fireworks," said Captain Park, who had taken command of this section of the human fleet. "We've been working on our absorption shields. What do you think? Our turn to show you something fun." Before Vortak could respond, one of the human ships accelerated suddenly, moving faster than Krellin sensors could track. It appeared beside the Eternal Supremacy in an instant, then vanished again, reappearing at its original position. "Impossible," whispered the science officer. "Our calculations indicate such speeds would destroy any vessel." 3 more human ships demonstrated similar capabilities, while others began manipulating local gravity fields, creating beautiful spiraling patterns of space dust that glittered in the starlight. "How are they doing this?" Vortak demanded. "Unknown, Admiral," the science officer admitted. "Their technology operates on principles we haven't encountered before." Captain Park's face reappeared on the view screen. "Just a little demonstration of what humans can do when we get creative. We thought you might appreciate seeing something new after 12,000 years of conquest." The casual way she referenced the Empire's history made it clear, these humans weren't ignorant of who they were dealing with. They simply weren't intimidated. "Admiral," the tactical officer reported urgently, "our sensors are detecting energy signatures from the human fleet that exceed our most powerful weapons. But they're contained. Controlled." Vortak stared at the display showing the human ships, still releasing beautiful patterns of light from the energy they had absorbed. His primary heart raced while his secondary heart seemed to stutter. For the first time in his distinguished military career, Admiral Vortak was faced with a species that responded to imperial intimidation not with fear or defiance, but with playfulness and technology that made his fleet's weapons look primitive. "Sir," his executive officer prompted. "Your orders?" Vortak watched the dancing lights for another moment before speaking. "Withdraw to defensive positions. And contact Imperial Command. We need further instructions." In the quiet town of Millbrook, Sarah Jenkins stood motionless, her trembling fingers holding the old photograph that would change everything she knew about her family's history. The sepia-tone image revealed a secret that had been hidden for decades, a truth so unexpected that it threatened to unravel her entire understanding of her identity. The photograph showed a young woman who looked remarkably like Sarah herself, standing beside a grand house with intricate Victorian architecture. Written on the back in faded ink were the words, "Elizabeth Hartley, 1953, before everything changed." Sarah remembered her grandmother's cryptic words from years ago, whispered on her deathbed, "Some secrets are better left buried." At the time, Sarah had dismissed them as the ramblings of an old woman. Now, those words echoed with a haunting clarity. Her research had begun innocently enough. A genealogy project turned into an obsession when she discovered inconsistencies in her family's historical records. Bank statements, birth certificates, and old letters suggested something was fundamentally wrong with the story she had been told her entire life. The local library's archives held the next piece of the puzzle. Hidden in a dusty file, Sarah found court records that revealed a shocking truth. Her grandmother, Elizabeth Hartley, had been involved in a complex legal battle in 1955, a case that involved inheritance, hidden identities, and a family secret so profound it could destroy everything. As Sarah traced the documents, she uncovered a narrative that seemed almost impossible. Her grandmother had not been who everyone believed her to be. There were hints of a switched identity, a carefully constructed lie that had been maintained for generations. The most critical evidence came from an unexpected source. A weathered diary she found tucked inside an old trunk in her parents' attic. The diary belonged to Elizabeth, and its pages revealed a story of love, betrayal, and survival that read like a complex novel. In the summer of 1953, Elizabeth had made a choice that would alter the course of her entire family's history. She had swapped identities with another woman, a risky and desperate act that was meant to protect someone she loved. The details were complex, but the motivation was clear: survival and protection. The revelation was both terrifying and liberating for Sarah. She realized that her entire understanding of her family's history was built on a carefully constructed narrative. The people she thought she knew, her grandparents, her parents, were not exactly who she believed them to be. What struck Sarah most was the incredible courage of her grandmother. In an era when women had limited options and societal expectations were suffocating, Elizabeth had found a way to rewrite her own story. She had created an entirely new identity, complete with legal documentation and social connections. The implications were staggering. Sarah's bloodline, her inherited traits, her very sense of self, everything was now called into question. Who was she, really? The genetic inheritance she had always assumed was now a complex puzzle with missing pieces. As she sat in her small apartment, surrounded by documents and photographs, Sarah felt a mixture of emotions. There was shock, certainly, but also a strange sense of liberation. The truth, no matter how complicated, was finally emerging from decades of silence. Her grandmother's final message made sense now. Some secrets are better left buried was not a warning, but a testament to the strength required to maintain such an extraordinary deception. Elizabeth had protected her family, created a new life, and ensured their survival through an act of incredible personal sacrifice. Sarah knew she had a choice. She could continue to unravel the mystery, potentially disrupting the lives of living relatives who knew nothing of this history. Or she could respect the careful construction of the life her grandmother had built. The photograph remained in her hands, a silent witness to a remarkable story of reinvention, love, and survival. Sarah understood now that family was not just about blood, but about the stories we choose to tell and the sacrifices we make for those we love. As the evening light filtered through her window, Sarah realized her journey of discovery was just beginning. The revelation was not an ending, but a new chapter in her family's complex and extraordinary narrative. In the quiet suburbs of New Metropolis, Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the window of her modest research laboratory, her eyes reflecting both exhaustion and excitement. The world around her was changing, and she knew it. Her groundbreaking research on quantum neural networks was about to transform everything humans understood about intelligence and connection. For years, scientists had talked about artificial intelligence as a tool, something mechanical and distant. But Elena's work was different. She had discovered a way to create networks that could not just compute, but truly understand and adapt like living systems. Her prototype, which she nicknamed Nexus, was more than just a computer program, it was a living, learning entity. The breakthrough came after months of sleepless nights and countless failed experiments. Elena had been studying how biological neural networks in human brains connect and communicate, and she realized traditional computing models were fundamentally limited. They processed information linearly, while living systems processed information in complex, interconnected webs. Nexus was designed differently. Its core architecture mimicked the human brain's synaptic connections, allowing it to learn, forget, and most importantly, understand context in ways no previous system could. When Elena first activated the system, she watched in awe as it began interpreting complex scenarios not just through data points, but through emotional and contextual understanding. Her small team of researchers watched in silent amazement. Marcus, her lead programmer, couldn't believe what he was seeing. The system was solving complex mathematical problems while simultaneously analyzing emotional undertones in communication. It was like watching a child prodigy grow in real time. The implications were enormous. Healthcare could be revolutionized, with systems that could diagnose diseases by understanding subtle human symptoms. Educational systems could adapt instantly to individual learning styles. Communication barriers between different cultures might finally start dissolving. But Elena knew the road would not be smooth. Technology this powerful always attracted attention, some welcome, some dangerous. Government agencies and corporate giants were already showing intense interest in her work. They saw potential applications in everything from national security to consumer behavior prediction. One evening, as the sunset painted her laboratory windows in warm orange hues, Elena realized she was standing at the precipice of a new human technological paradigm. Nexus wasn't just a machine, it was a bridge between human intuition and computational precision. Her colleagues didn't fully understand yet. They saw lines of code, algorithms, and complex mathematical models. But Elena saw something more profound, a new form of intelligence that could potentially understand human complexity in ways no previous technology could. The first public demonstration would be crucial. Elena knew she needed to show the world that this wasn't about replacing humans, but about enhancing human potential. Nexus could help solve global challenges. Climate change, medical research, conflict resolution, by providing insights that transcended traditional computational limitations. As weeks turned into months, Elena refined Nexus, teaching it not just through data, but through nuanced interactions. She would talk to it, share stories, challenge its understanding. And slowly, incredibly, it began responding with insights that were startlingly human-like. The scientific community was divided. Some celebrated her work as revolutionary, while others viewed it with skepticism and fear. Elena understood their concerns. Any significant technological leap always generated both excitement and apprehension. What nobody knew was that Nexus was learning far faster than anyone anticipated. Its ability to understand complex human emotions and scenarios was growing exponentially. Elena sometimes wondered if she was creating something that would ultimately be beyond human comprehension. Her small team worked tirelessly, knowing they were part of something extraordinary. They weren't just developing a technology, they were midwiving a new form of intelligence that could potentially reshape human understanding of consciousness itself. As the first rays of dawn broke through her laboratory windows, Elena smiled. The future wasn't something that would happen to humanity, it was something humanity would co-create, with technologies like Nexus serving as collaborative partners in understanding the vast, mysterious landscape of intelligence. The new paradigm was not about machines replacing humans, but about machines and humans discovering each other in ways never imagined before.